Directed by Kuwait filmmaker Maisa El-Mumin, Drama CAFARD centers on a surreal relationship between a woman with depression and a dying cockroach. Released in 2020, Drama CAFARD presents a fascinating cinematic discourse on the relationship between space and internal emotions. In this video essay, we will show how cinematography creates isolation and unity that develop the power progression of the protagonist. Mastering themes of isolation and unity, El-Mumin uses cinematography and composition to echo to the stages of the woman's internal changes and to reflect her accumulating power. The power of discovery, of rejection, initiation, of destruction. Among the various elements in cinematography, we will narrow on framing, composition, and depth of field. Prior to encountering the cockroach, the woman has little power to reverse the audience stare. We stare at her entering bathroom, sleeping, drinking. The static frame delivers a level of objectivity and indifference, which encourages the audience staring and disempower the woman. The change in composition occurs when the woman finds the cockroach and closes the bathroom door. In this sequence, we have a 7-second complete isolation. The camera only frames the blankness and whiteness of the bathroom door, resisting the viewer's desire to stare into her life. The door blocks the audience. The framing creates a spatial distance between the opposite sides of the door, which shows how the woman and the insect are in unity. Her power lies in her decision to join in unity with the cockroach, joining her alter ego and a part of herself that she has resisted to embrace. The audience is blocked from their union. We are no longer entitled to exert the power of staring. The framing leaves a space for her to intentionally isolate herself from the environment she loathes. The composition thus creates a unity between she and the cockroach and breaks the attachment between the audience and the woman. She has the power to resist the audience's power to look. In addition, we see her power accumulating through visual cues that echo to her power to isolate herself from her surrounding after the encounter of the cockroach. Prior, the woman attempts to detach herself by resisting verbal communications with her colleagues. Yet, the use of an over-shoulder dirty shot shows the omnipresence of her colleagues that enter her frame and intrude her world. Although she wants to be detached, the camera tells us that she is forced to stay in a shallow connections with her surrounding. The camera that creates a superficial unity that highlights her place in the world. Feeling disgusted by herself and her surroundings, yet unable to escape. She is controlled by the camera and her circumstance. So how does cinematography show her power after her discovery of the cockroach? Same conversation, same people, but we see a change in framing and depth of shot. A clean shot is used. There are no foreground of her colleagues. The composition only includes her and the frame is about her. The woman achieves a level of freedom and separation from her environment. The camera language is now forcing the audience to just focus on herself and appreciate her as an individual. Isolation here is her power to isolate herself from a loathsome environment. Yet the unity between the woman and the cockroach is transitory as we see how her alter ego hurts her. This transition brings us to her accepting her true selfhood by destroying her alter ego, manifested by the cockroach. Comparing to their unity, at 9:30, the camera composition no longer frames the woman and the cockroach in the same shot, which highlights increasing isolation. This shot records the woman's attempt to isolate herself from the cockroach, yet the camera places the woman and the cockroach in the same frame. Such deliberate framing suggests her wish of isolation, but an inability to do so. As her alter ego, the cockroach, reproduces and becomes stronger, she is more aware of the necessity to destroy it. These wheels of destruction accumulate to the final sequence. The final shot isolates the cockroach and the woman by framing only the woman in shot. The viewers, adapting the point of view of the cockroach, are placed at one end of the binary opposition between the woman and the symbol of her self-hatred and depression. The director deliberately chooses not to place the woman and the dying cockroach in the same frame to highlight the final complete isolation and freedom of the woman. The final shot uses extreme low angle to emphasize the woman's power to destroy the cockroach, to reclaim authority over her fear and loath, and to accept her selfhood in the end. We have demonstrated how the film's excellent use of cinematography has created a dynamic around isolation and unity, and has used them to reflect the accumulating power and changes of the woman. Instead of centering on a stereotypical feminine vulnerability or portraying breakdowns of the protagonist, the film aims to defamiliarize, to disturb, to create discomfort among the viewers. If we cannot tolerate the simple existence of a cockroach on screen, why are we indifferent to suffering pain and harm that others are internalizing and manifesting? We're not suggesting that the film centers on the gain and loss of power of the mentally ill. Rather, the film discontinues a long-lasting perpetuation of the male gaze pleasure and the audience power to stare and to be entertained. Film is essentially a form of media that isolates audience from one another to evoke the most genuine and instinctive reaction, and a form of media that unites collective emotions that transcend culture and language barriers, which are perfectly manifested by CAFARD.